I'm a certified teacher of Transcendental Meditation. So, today we'll talk about what is Vedic Wisdom and the value of transcending. So, Vedic Wisdom. Vedic means something pertaining to Veda, and Veda means total knowledge. And this total knowledge is actually the knowledge of our own self, knowledge of the unmanifest, omnipresent, absolute level of life. And where is this knowledge? This knowledge is in our own self. This Veda is actually the inner reality of everyone. And when we do transcendental meditation, we dive within and we enliven Veda in our physiology, or that total knowledge, that pure knowledge. And that's how we start living a more better life, a more harmonious life. So if we take one of the examples or one of the sayings from the Vedic literature, and Bhagavad Gita is one of the very famous, most it's read all over India and all over the world. So, and in Bhagavad Gita, actually, Krishnji, he gives these principles of how to live the life in its fullest value. So, if we take one of its verse from second chapter, verse 48, the verse says, Yogasthaha Kuru Karmani. And Yogasthaha Kuru Karmani means, Yogasthaha means established in self, and Kuru Karmani means perform action. So if a person is established in self, or in yoga, in unity, which is in his own self, then his action will be more efficient, more precise. And if the actions are more successful and more efficient, then automatically he will be more and more fulfilled in his life. So if we take an analogy of an ocean, on the surface level of the ocean there are lots of waves, but at deeper levels it's more and more quieter. Similarly, on the surface level of our mind, there are lots of activities, but as we go deeper inside our mind, it's more and more quieter. And if the air bubble, it comes from the surface level, from the bottom of the ocean, and as it comes towards the surface, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Similarly, thoughts also come from the silent level of the mind, from the bottom, right? And as it comes towards the surface, it becomes bigger and bigger, and at the surface level or the conscious level of our mind, we realize it as a thought, right? And then we act on it. So in transcendental meditation, we actually dive within, right, to the finer levels, and we experience ourself. And that's what this verse also says. Yogasthaha Kuru Karmani. Yoga means uniting the mind with that divine intelligence, or uniting the mind with that infinite source of infinite creativity, infinite bliss, infinite intelligence, right? And when we do TM, we are actually uniting ourselves with that infinite source of everything, infinite bliss, infinite intelligence. And when we come out in our daily activity, those values start growing in our life, that bliss, that creativity, right? And that's what happens with the regular practice of transcendental meditation. That experience of that pure consciousness, that infinite bliss, it grows in our daily life. And that bliss, that inner silence, it gets integrated with our waking, dreaming and sleeping state. And there is a time when that inner creative silence, that it gets completely integrated with the outer activity, and that is actually the perfect state of enlightenment, when we live that inner silence, inner wakefulness, even in our daily life. And that's what this verse says, Yogasthaha Kuru Karmani. And then as the verse goes ahead, at the end it says that balance of mind is called yoga. And how does the mind gets balanced? Mind get balanced when actually that eternal contentment is there all the time. And that eternal contentment only comes with the experience of that infinite bliss which is within, that bliss consciousness on the level of our self, Atma. That bliss cannot be maintained on the level of mood making. It's actually a permanent experience which is spontaneously maintained. Right? It's not mere mood making. What does it mean? That we don't think from our side that, oh, I am feeling good, or we don't try to maintain that mood of that we are feeling good. But what happens in TM is that when we are doing transcendental meditation, that state, it naturally gets integrated in our life, and we start living that bliss automatically. It's like, if we take an analogy, like if we pull an arrow on a bow, so we have to stretch it back and then we release the arrow and then it goes ahead, right? And so similarly what happens is that, like how we pull the arrow on the bowstring, similarly we are actually taking our mind to that field of infinite bliss on the level of yoga. And from that level, when we act, our mind is more powerful. If the mind is more powerful, our thoughts are more powerful. And if the thoughts are powerful, our actions will be more powerful. And if the actions are powerful, automatically whatever we'll do, it will have that efficiency, that precision, and we'll be easily able to gain success. Secondly, what is the reward of actually being established in self, established in yoga or unity, which is on the level of self, is that we are not moved by small limitations and shortcomings in our daily life. Then that individual mind, it gains the cosmic status. So it is like that businessman which is actually growing from like a small businessman growing to a bigger, he's becoming a much bigger businessman. So when a businessman becomes more wealthier, he's not affected by small loss or gains, he's above it, right? Similarly, when we are established in self, we are not affected by the small or small limitations or shortcomings, and that's why we are able to perform naturally better in our daily life. So here is this, someone asked this question: what is the relation between yoga and meditation? So yoga means unity, right? Uniting the mind with the self, with that Atma, with that reservoir of infinite bliss, creativity, right, and intelligence. And meditation, and in this case we are talking about transcendental meditation, actually helps in settling the mind and experiencing that bliss, that creativity within. And so TM is actually, we can say, a way to experience that unity, right, and live a much fuller life, holistic life, more that wholeness of life in the daily life. And we also have lots of researches done, and there are more than 650 scientific researches done on transcendental meditation. And one of the research, it talks about how the brain becomes more and more coherent. So as the mind is transcending, it is the brain starts working more and more together, more and more in synchrony, or we can say more and more in yoga, togetherness, right? And yeah, if the brain is functioning in a coherent manner, then the creativity increases, GPA increases, we have seen in kids, the neuroticism decreases, right? And many other benefits comes along. Okay. So yeah, so to know more about TM, you can call on the link on this comment, and TM, if we say in a very short, in few words, TM is a very simple technique, very effortless technique, and you have to, it takes 5 days to learn this technique from a certified teacher, and it is done sitting easily, eyes closed, twice a day. So yeah, thank you so much. We'll now close the session. Thank you so much everyone for joining today's